Hi, this is your Sapna Bhartiya, and we have with us once again Hilary Carter, SVP of Research at the Linux Foundation. Hilary, it's great to have you back on the show. We missed each other at the Open Source Summit, but we are here. So first of all, welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time, and I'm so sorry to have missed you in Denver, but thanks for rescheduling time, Swap. It's great to be back.
It's my pleasure. It's more than half the year, so I have twofold question for you. First of all, talk a bit about this year so far. What are some of the major themes, topics of your research that you have done so far, and then we can talk about looking forward. What are the topics, themes your team will be working on?
Yeah, I'm so happy with the progress that we've made in research in terms of providing empirical evidence to help our communities navigate some of the challenges that we are all facing, whether those challenges relate to a policy or ongoing cybersecurity issues or challenges around innovation or competitiveness. So the work that's been published to date primarily are projects that came out in the middle of the first half of 2025. Were very specific to cybersecurity and the Cyber Resilience Act. And a new suite of projects have just published recently around Open Source Summit North America that relate to the economic value of open source AI. That came out at the end of May. But also our reports on technical talent, the state of tech talent, both the Japan-specific report as well as a global view. And the combination of the research that we've published to date in the first half of 2025 really describes the triple advantage of open source engagement and helps to measure the economic benefit of engagement in open source project communities in terms of an organization's security posture, policy risk management, innovation profile, and then competitiveness in terms of the talent market. That, plus the announcement of Frank Nagel joining our organization as chief economist, is really setting us up to go from strength to strength and continue on this trajectory to empirically measure the economic value of open source in different contexts.
Yeah, I talked to Frank at the Open Source Summit, and it's really good to see the work he's doing there. Now, when it comes to research, you mentioned CRA. Initially, CRA was a big problem. We had a lot of discussions. Things have gotten better as the collaboration between the European Union and lawmakers and the Open Source Committee and the Linux Foundation played a big role there by engaging with them, and other foundations were also there. And fortunately, one of the organizations, Open Infra, is now also part of the Linux Foundation now. Can you talk about, when we look at this research, that, okay, we collect a lot of data, we talk to folks, how does this research actually turn into action? When, let's just focus on the first topic, which is cybersecurity. How the research that you folks do, how it also create actionable items for the Linux Foundation to actually go into the market and actually help tackle them?
Thanks, Rob. I think the value of research reports in terms of calls to action are really the heart of why we exist. Every time we publish a new research project, it's important in our conclusions section that we identify actionable insights within the Linux Foundation and our project communities and beyond the LF for leaders and policymakers to take the data and construct a strategy with that data, whether that strategy relates to resource allocation, budget formation, increasing marketing or awareness of the issue, or some other type of action. What's often proven true in our research is we've recently shown the benefit of increasing engagement in open source project communities as an actionable conclusion for all stakeholders at the government level, at the enterprise level, at the project level, and individual developer level, that are the evidence that we have generated, the data that we've generated is measuring the impact of that engagement and showing the benefits to the different stakeholders that help make the case for open source contribution. So having those actionable conclusions in every report, whether it is, the report we published in the middle of March called Unaware and Uncertain, which measured readiness around the Cyber Resilience Act, the level of awareness of the CRA, the timelines related to the CRA, the specific penalties for noncompliance with the CRA, and and otherwise thoughts of CRA strategy for an organization or a project community. That report identified very, very low levels of readiness. And so the call to action from that report was, here's what we think you need to do to get CRA ready. We know that there's a problem. Here's how you can address the problem that probably affects your organization. And putting the CRA as an urgent priority for organizations and for projects in their role as open source stewards under the Act is an urgent priority. So the reports themselves have these calls to action about what steps should be taken, what tools should be leveraged, what resources should be allocated, what skills are required. But then it's incumbent upon the organization to take those results and action them. And it's our responsibility at LF Research to disseminate what we have learned through opportunities such as sitting down with you, helping get the word out that our research has identified a problem, and folks should know about the things that we've learned, the data that we have created. So knowledge translation is a very important part of our role at LF Research. So we produce the insights, identify the actionable conclusions, but then this third step, which is so important and why you and I are sitting down talking today, is translating that data and those calls to action for greater awareness and amplification. Because the most frustrating thing that I can think of is doing all this research and have it not get to its appropriate audiences, not land on the desks of the people who need to read it. So thank you for helping us in our effort to translate the knowledge that we've acquired in the research process.
Oh, thank you for doing all this work. I will talk about a global impact later on, because we had a discussion earlier also, the Linux Foundation. We need to actually do some in a very subtle manner to dismiss this myth that Linux Foundation is US based, blah blah blah. No, it's a global. Open source is a global phenomenon. It happened to be in the US. That is a totally different thing. So I will ask that in the end. I want to move to the next topic, which is more about AI. You mentioned Frank, and of course, you folks did some research as well. When we look at open source, a lot of layoffs are happening, and sometimes it is getting associated with AI means job loss, but that is not the case. That's what happens mostly. Can you talk about if you folks have done any research that actually also looks at the positive impact of open source AI in terms of economic growth across industries?
Yeah. In fact, in May, we published a report with the support of Meta on exploring the economic and workforce impact of AI and open source AI in particular. And it was a literature review led by Anna Hermanson and Kaylin Osborne from the Linux Foundation. But it positively correlated the use of open source AI with economic growth, with employee retention, and with an organization's competitive posture as it relates to its ability to carry out its AI strategy. There is a workforce shortage. We have a significant skills gap today, the world over, as it relates to having enough technical talent to carry out the AI opportunity. And so that's what a lot of our research has revealed, the workforce and economic impact of open source AI with Meta, and then subsequently the tech talent report, State of Tech Talent in 2025, which further identified the workforce shortfalls and the pathways, talking about actionable conclusions to help closing those talent gaps. At LF Research, my back of envelope calculation for 2025, looking at the AI-focused research projects that we're doing this year compared to last year, we have triple the number of AI-specific research projects in my department. I don't run a technical department. I don't run a product team. I can only imagine what companies are doing to meet their AI integrations at the product level, at the operational level. The challenge is phenomenal, and the gap, the lack of technical qualified talent to realize this opportunity is a problem. So it's most unfortunate that there have been so many layoffs attributed to AI, but I think falsely so, Swap. The data shows that technical teams are woefully understaffed in areas of urgent strategic priority, those being AI, cybersecurity, as well as FinOps and cost optimization. I think the unfortunate aspect of what is taking place with respect to layoffs is that there is lack of understanding of the significance of open source skilled people within an organization and the importance of open source as it relates to an organization's competitive profile. So we have so much work to do to convince decision makers that their open source teams are a net value add, that open source engagement positively contributes to ROI, that allowing your teams to contribute to open source projects is a net benefit. We have the data, but there is a gap. There's a knowledge translation gap. There's some other structural gap at play. And it may also be that there are other forces, other types of departments and layoffs broadly. I mean, if we look at the cuts to the US federal workforce, there's a technical fallout as well. So that it may be that technical teams are being reduced for more reasons than just AI. I think AI will transform our workforce and shift low skill types of work. But and yes, some types of software development, that is true. But it cannot be the sole reason for massive layoffs. There's much more going on right now.
What are this year's trend, and how is AI reshaping the workforce?
So what are this year's trends? Well, organizations are seeing AI as a strategic priority, particularly building out customized solutions that are specific to their company or on a national level, specific to the cultural and regulatory nuances within a country, to help that country or company compete at an advantageous level, or to offer solutions that are more streamlined, that are more authentic to the company's experience or the country's experience. That authenticity, I think, is one of the greatest growth areas for improving language models or creating small language models that are much more bespoke. I think that's where we're going to see a lot of growth and a lot of value add. So as trends go, the build out of sovereign AI solutions that are designed to meet very specific objectives at the organizational level, at the national level, and use data sets that are more robust, more precise, and embed that nuance, which is so important when you're looking for a model to work appropriately, that takes context into account in a much more significant way. I think that's where we're going. A new report is coming out next month on sovereign AI, and we'll be announcing that in Amsterdam at AI Dev Conference. But preliminarily, I can share that it is very much a priority for organizations, that the talent gap persists in terms of organizations' ability to drive forward their sovereign AI agendas, and that above all, regardless of whether we're building a bespoke solution for a company or within an industry or within a country or a supranational solution, say, for example, something within the European Union, global collaboration must be part of the solution. That to think of building a sovereign AI solution without global open source collaboration would be a terrible loss for that end product. So our belief and what we're proving out with data is that, again, not the same principles apply to open source AI as they always have to open source. Not all the smart people with the good ideas work inside your corporate walls, nor within your industry, nor within your country. And that bringing together all the best and brightest minds of the world to collaborate at the pre-competitive, non-differentiating layer of any sovereign AI solution is really important. The differentiation can come by way of the data. The differentiation can come by way of the regulatory nuance or other edge type customizations. But at the core, at the lowest levels of the stack, it's so important as we build out sovereign systems to keep working together as a global community.
So very well said. Thank you so much. I would want to talk about one more thing since you mentioned, the upcoming European event. Different regions, different countries, they have different standards, different languages, different cultures. But when it comes to technology, especially open source, you and I had this discussion past that open source has more or less like become a global language across borders. And the work that Linux Foundation is doing is not specific to a specific country. It is global. It doesn't matter whether you're like, Asia, Africa, Europe, North America. Can you also talk about the importance of these reports? Because open source is Kubernetes, whether Baidu is running it or Google is running it. Same thing with OpenStack or Linux kernel. So talk about the importance of these reports for the whole world, not a specific region, how anybody can benefit from them.
Yeah, I'm so proud is maybe overstating it, but I'm very pleased that our research publications to date really do make that case for the significance of global collaboration. And the Europe reports that we have done for 3 years, and in Amsterdam we'll be releasing our 4th Europe focused report in tandem with Open Source Summit Europe, once again drives home evidence for the importance of global collaboration, even when we are building regional centric solutions. And there may be a deep need culturally or politically or, in terms of a grassroots movement to create something that really is unique, built in Europe for Europeans, but not to discount the incredible contributions that may come outside of Europe. So Swap, there's already a body of research that we've been producing for Europe, but the cut of the data is a cut of what's taking place in other communities all around the world, and the differential is not that great. What's happening in Europe is happening in North America, is happening in Asia. It really is not, especially unique in its needs to build out great technology. But the best technology has proven to be global open source technology. I like to remind people that Linux itself, the Linux kernel, was invented in Helsinki by Linus Torvalds, that scaled to change the world, that the internet was created by Sir Tim Berners-Lee in CERN in Switzerland and changed the world. And so Europe absolutely can be the center, the epicenter of the world's greatest technologies. But they become great when everyone participates, not just Europeans. So I'm confident that our reports illustrate that. It's a matter of finding the audiences to remind them how important open collaboration is, and that we can still create great solutions at a company level, at a country level, at a region level that leverage the best tools in the world.
Hilary, thank you so much for joining me today and give us an update on these reports. As usual, it was great to talk to you, and I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swap. I appreciate the opportunity.